Happy Monday, friends. It is November already, which is just crazy to me. I can't believe how fast 2021 has gone. It's very surreal, I guess we could say. So this week I am back with another book talk. My name is AnnaLee Dragon. I am the director of the Kinderhook Memorial Library. For those of you who I don't know, if there are any at this point that are starting to watch these now, a year and a half later, welcome. But also thank you for paying attention to what we're doing here. So this week, I thought we would talk about some forthcoming or brand new books. I usually do unboxing videos, the problem being the supply chain, which many of you have heard about at this point. It is interrupting our lives in a number of ways, one of which being it is harder to get books. So I placed an order several weeks ago that I'm still waiting for its arrival. And so I thought rather than just wait for the arrival, I would get you prepped for, it's like a pre-unboxing. So these are books that I have ordered for our library. They are not here as of the filming, but they may very well be here by then. And some libraries already have them on their shelves, depending on where they were in the ordering chain. So if you can't get a hold of them just yet, put them on your holds list or your to-read list. And then some of them should be on the shelves by the time you watch this so that you could at least put a hold in and get them to read now. But I apologize for not having them sooner. It just, like we said, the supply chain is affecting everything, including books. So here we are with a pre-unboxing video, which is something new. So I have about 6 or 7 books I'm going to talk about. I have a couple nonfiction, a whole bunch of fiction, some new authors, some favorite authors, all very exciting stuff. So just bear with me, and I'm going to put a cover up and then talk about the book and then put another cover up and then talk about that book and so on. And at the end, I will put all the book covers again so that you can get any titles or authors you missed and start placing your holds. Okay, so let's get started without further ado. So the first book we're going to talk about, as you saw there, is The Book of Magic by Alice Hoffman, who is a very well-known and well-loved author. She is the author of Practical Magic, which was made into a very big movie many years ago with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock. And so this is the 4th in the Practical Magic series of books. So it's the same characters about the Owens family of witches and their powers. And this is apparently the final in the series. So this is the last one that they're going to make of these. So if you have followed the series, this is awesome for you to get this new book. And if you have not yet, I suggest you pick it up and then watch the movie because the movie's great also. Having it just been Halloween, it's right in the spirit of things. And Alice Hoffman is a lovely writer who has written other books besides this series as well. So the Owens family has been cursed in matters of love for over 300 years, but all of that is about to change. The novel begins in a library, which we love, the best place for a story to be conjured, when beloved Aunt Jet Owens hears the Death Watch beetle and knows she has only 7 days to live. Jet is not the only one in danger. The curse is already at work. So this is 3 generations of Owens women working against this curse and this timeline, sort of. And it's called A Breathtaking Conclusion that celebrates mothers and daughters, sisters and brothers, and anyone who has ever been in love. So for those of you who are romantics, I think these books are wonderful. They also have this magical element to them, which I really enjoy in a lot of my fiction. But if you're not into magic and this book maybe isn't for you, you should still check out some of Alice Hoffman's other works because they're all fantastic. They all have an element of the fantastic in them, but they're not all as overtly magic as this series is. So I've really enjoyed them. I'm really looking forward to The Book of Magic by Alice Hoffman. Next book. So we're changing tone a little here from Practical Magic to another favorite author of many of you, Amor Towles, who wrote A Gentleman in Moscow, which was just a runaway hit. It's one of those books that the librarians saw go across the desk 8 million times. I'm actually currently reading that one. So if you loved that book and you've been waiting for another by him, here it comes. It's called The Lincoln Highway, as you saw the cover there. It is a Today Show Read with Jenna book club, which I have highlighted many Jenna's book club books. They seem to be very popular. So this is one of those. They call it wise and wildly entertaining, permeated with light, wit, and youth. A classic that we will read for years to come, and a real joyride, elegantly constructed and compulsively readable. I would agree that A Gentleman from Moscow, the part that I've read so far, is very lyrical, and they're not like a lot of really big books tend to be kind of a murder or a mystery or something, or really romantic. His book is the language is a character. It's just beautifully written, witty for sure. The characters are richly drawn and you can just picture them. He brings them to life right off the page. So this one is about, in June 1954, 18-year-old Emmett Watson is driven home to Nebraska by the warden of the juvenile work farm where he has just served 15 months for involuntary manslaughter. His mother long gone, his father recently deceased, and the family farm foreclosed upon by the bank. Emmett's intention is to pick up his 8-year-old brother and head to California where they can start their lives anew. But when the warden drives away, Emmett discovers that 2 friends from the work farm have hidden themselves in the trunk of the warden's car. Together, they've hatched an altogether different plan for Emmett's future, one that will take them all on a fateful journey in the opposite direction, to the city of New York. So it's spanning just 10 days from the multiple points of view. This is his 3rd book, and they say it will satisfy fans of his multi-layered literary storytelling styling while providing them with an array of new and richly imagined setting, characters, and theme. So it does sound to me like it's in keeping with the things that you probably loved about A Gentleman in Moscow, if you've read that one, because it's not so much action-packed, or it's just the stories. I think there is a theme there of loss of fortune, which is something that happened in Gentleman in Moscow, while it's completely different characters. I'm interested to see how he writes young people, because his main character in A Gentleman in Moscow obviously was not young. And so writing from the point of view of a child is always interesting to me. So this sounds like it has all the hallmarks of the book that you loved before, and hopefully this will be your next favorite book of his, and you'll really enjoy it as much as all of these other people that have reviewed it and gave it fantastic reviews enjoyed it. So The Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles. Next book. Our next read that I wanted to talk to you about is called We Are Not Like Them by Christine Pride and Joe Piazza. So this is a propulsive and deeply felt tale of race and friendship told from alternating perspectives, and an evocative and riveting novel, according to the reviews. And it's about the lifelong bond between 2 women, Jen and Riley, one white and one black, whose friendship is altered by a tragic event. They call it a poignant exploration of race in America today and the devastating impact it can have on ordinary lives. So I picked this book for a number of reasons. It got fantastic reviews, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. But I think it also does what we look for fiction to do, which is to give us empathy, put us in someone else's shoes, and get a better understanding of things through imagined lives, right? Fiction is often inspired by reality, which this very clearly is a topic that is happening in our world today, especially in our country. And I think it's really important. And sometimes reading nonfiction can be daunting to people, or it's so factual that it's like separated from the human experience of these things. And I really enjoy a work of fiction for that reason exactly, that it puts me in the shoes of people. It makes me care about them. And then it explores some really important topics a lot of times. And I think this is one of those books. It's gotten fantastic reviews. Their authors I have not read before. So I love a new introduction to somebody that I can add to my library. And I think it's really important that we have these books that discuss tough topics, even if they're not always super fun. If we can be touched and moved and learn to empathize and better understand a subject from another point of view, I think that that's all a win. So I'm very excited about We Are Not Like Them by Christine Pride and Joe Piazza. Hopefully you will be as well. Okay, next book. I thought we'd end our fiction part of this book talk with a favorite author. Again, somebody who I know many of you are very familiar with, John le Carré. So John le Carré, this is his final complete novel. Many of you may know or may not know that he passed away this year, and he is a beloved writer of espionage and spy kind of novels, and this is his final completed novel. So it's very important in that way, especially if you're a fan of his. It's called Silverview, and it says that he turns his focus to the world that occupied his writing for the past 60 years, the secret world itself. Named a most anticipated book of the fall by the Associated Press and Time and People, and others. It is about Julian Lawnsley, is the character, has renounced his high-flying job in the city for a simpler life running a bookshop in a small English seaside town, which I love. But only a couple of months into his new career, Julian's evening is disrupted by a visitor. Edward, a Polish emigre living in Silverview, the big house on the edge of town, seems to know a lot about Julian's family and is rather too interested in the inner workings of his modest new enterprise. When a letter turns up at the door of a spy chief in London warning him of a dangerous leak, the investigations lead him to this quiet town by the sea, ... So they say it's the mesmerizing story of an encounter between innocence and experience and between public duty and private morals. In his inimitable voice, John le Carré, the greatest chronicler of our age, seeks to answer the question of what we truly owe the people we love. So if you are a longtime fan of his, this sounds like all of the things in his kind of best and penultimate work here. And if you are a new reader of his, maybe this book is the one that introduces you to a writer that you would love. And he was prolific. There's a lot of work by him. So if you enjoy this one, you're in luck, because there's a ton of books by him that we have many of at the library and many more in the system. So I am excited to read this. I have not read a lot of John le Carré in my life, but I have heard all about him. He writes a great spy novel, lots of intrigue, lots of twists and turns, lots of great characters, and lots of travel around the world to different places, which I love also. So if you are an armchair adventurer or a lover of spy and espionage novels, I think this one might be the perfect book for you. Okay, so we've got 2 more books and they're nonfiction. So let's get to them. On Animals by Susan Orlean, there's like a few reasons that I'm excited about this one. So one, it's about animals and human-animal relationships, which I love. I am an animal lover myself. I have always had pets and animals, and I've traveled to see different kinds of animals. So I'm excited about that aspect. But also Susan Orlean is an author that I love. She wrote the library book is the one that I am the most familiar with. And it was about the LA Public Library fire that happened on the same day as Chernobyl, which sparked a whole different level of reading interest of mine. I went in all different directions to read more about Chernobyl and more about this fire. So she tells a fantastic nonfiction story. So I'm excited because she's bringing her voice to the subject that I care very much about. So she says, how we interact with animals has preoccupied philosophers, poets, and naturalists for ages. So since the age of 6, when Orlean wrote and illustrated a book called Herbert, the Nearsighted Pigeon, which sounds adorable, she's been drawn to stories about how we live with animals and how they abide by us. Now in On Animals, she examines human-animal relationships through the compelling tales she has written over the course of her celebrated career. So the stories consider a range of creatures, from household pets that we dote on to animals we raise that end up as meat on our plates, creatures who could eat us for dinner, the various tamed and untamed animals we share our planet with who are central to human life. And so she talks about a whole bunch of things, from keeping chickens in her own backyard in New Jersey to somebody who has pet tigers. And it says that it's equal parts delightful and profound, enriched by her stylish prose and precise research. These stories celebrate the meaningful cross-species connections that grace our collective existence. And as I talked about with my mom last week in my book talk, last 2 weeks ago in my book talk, my mother was a lover of animals, and one of her favorite sayings was peace between the species. She liked that we all could coexist together, and this book sounds like exactly that. It was called magnificent and beguiling and howlingly funny by the New York Times and the San Francisco Chronicle. So it's just gotten a fantastic amount of praise and rave reviews, and it's all about our natural world and how we're dealing with the animals that live alongside us. And I can't wait to read this one. So I hope it's as exciting to some of you as it is to me. Susan Orlean's On Animals. Okay, I have one more book for you, and it's a food book, a cookbook. So the title of this one is a mouthful. Sandor Katz's Fermentation Journeys, Recipes, Techniques, and Traditions from Around the World. So this has a ton of reviews that are fantastic. Sandor Katz is a James Beard Award winner, which in the food world is a big deal. So we love that. He has written other books about fermentation. They say that, you know, his life work, this is kind of a culmination of his life work. And he's had a life filled with curiosity, travel, exploration, and it elicits a sense of wonder as tastes, sights, and smells leap off the page to ignite your imagination. I love that because I feel like sometimes only people who are planning to cook read these kind of books, but I like to read them because I am not much of a cook, and I love but I love food and I love a good food. So I enjoy reading about the processes and the way, what goes into all of these fantastic creations that these people who are world renowned for their food, like how they do that. So it says that for the past 2 decades, fermentation expert and best-selling author Sandor Katz has traveled the world teaching and learning about the many fascinating and delicious techniques for fermenting foods. Wherever he's gone, he's gleaned valuable insights into the cultures and traditions of local and indigenous people, where they make familiar ferments like sauerkraut or less common preparations like natto and koji. In his latest book, Katz takes readers along with him to revisit these special places, people, and foods. So I love this because it's not just a cookbook, but it's also about the people. And I think it's really important that he focuses on local and indigenous, because often those are oral traditions that can be lost. Like when a generation goes away, then the knowledge of how to make that particular food goes away, or the importance of it to the culture. So I think it's really important that he focuses on that and puts it into writing so that there's a record of it. So it goes far beyond mere general instructions and explores the transformative process of fermentation. They've got detailed descriptions, local customs and ceremonies that surround particular ferments, profiles of farmers, business owners, and experimenters that he's met, which is all great. Has over 60 recipes for global ferments from Ecuador, Japan, China, Nigeria, Croatia, Colombia. And it reminds us that the magical power of fermentation belongs to everyone, everywhere. Perfect for adventurous foodies, armchair travelers, and fermentation fanatics. I am 2 of the 3 who have followed his previous work. This book reflects the enduring passion and accumulated wisdom of this unique man who is arguably the world's most experienced and respected advocate of all things fermented, which is a very specific title. But I think it's really cool too, because we're going into the winter and fermentation takes time and patience. And if you're going to be stuck indoors in the winter, maybe you pick this up and try out some of these cool recipes. What else are you going to do? We don't have the time to be outdoors in the summer like we do and doing things there. So canning, fermentation, these processes that take longer and are maybe a little more focused are a great thing to do in the winter. Plus, who doesn't want to armchair travel to all of those cool countries and read about local customs and the processes and the customs around them? It's so cool. So I hope that you will be as excited about Sandor Katz's fermentation journeys as I am, because it sounds like a lot of fun and a great addition to our cookbooks. Okay, so that's all I have for this week. I will be back in a few weeks with some more books. I hope that some of these speak to you and you put them on your holds list and you have some great reads. But if you need something else, just let us know. We'll be more than happy to help at the library. And we hope to see you very soon. Bye, everyone.